So, what I want to now take a look at is finding the domain and range when given a graph, because it's quite a bit different than when we're actually using a table. The thing to note here is for a graph, we're not just given a few points, we're given infinitely many points, because a line is a collection of points and we have a line on the graph. So if we take a look at the iPad right now, what I've got here is I have my graph. And so if we take a look at the graph, we have a few different points listed out. We have the point -2, 11. We have the point -1, 6. We have the point 0, 3. We have the point 1, 2. We also have the point 2, 3. We have the point 3, 6, and the point 4, 11. Now, we have all of those points. Those are marked in like that mauve kind of color. But if you look at the line for our parabola, or for our quadratic, that line touches literally every single point across that x-axis. So as we're going from left to right, we touch every single point. And then if you make special note of the arrows, you see that that indicates that that graph is going to go on even past what we can just see here in our pane of view. So when it comes to our domain, when looking at a graph, it's more about what might not be a part of the domain is what we're looking for. On the table, we just looked at what values were expressly there. But now we want to see what values across the x-axis are not involved in the domain. So again, we know that our x-axis is the horizontal axis. And as you take a look, yes, our points only go from -2 to +4, but those lines, again, they go on, and it's indicated that they go on forever. And so if they are going on forever, and everything in between those 2 points is accounted for within the line across the x-axis, then that means that we know that our domain for our function is actually going to be all real numbers. So a way to note that is from -infinity to +infinity. So again, the way that we're denoting the domain now is we have our starting value, comma, our ending value for the domain, because we've got all the values in between. I think it'd be pretty unfair if I asked you guys to write all of the integers, all of the real numbers from -infinity to infinity, especially because that includes -5.267 and +3.141595624 and all that jazz. But we have our domain. Now, taking a look at our range, same thing. I want to know what numbers are not a part of the range. Are there any values that are not included in my range at all? Well, in my graph for my y values, again, remember that the y-axis is the vertical axis. Is there a certain point that my graph doesn't cross? And the answer is yes. If you take a look, we've got the point 1, 2. So when x is 1, y is 2, and that is the lowest on the y-axis that our graph goes. However, the line touches everything above it. It fills in and touches all of the y values that go above and beyond when y is 2, but it does not go below it at all. So when we take a look at our range includes any number that is greater than 2. It doesn't include any numbers that are less than 2. It only includes numbers that are greater than 2. So, the way that we would want to make sure that we make note of our range here is that it is any number between 2 to infinity. And that was a poorly drawn infinity, so I'm going to redo it. But any number that is 2 or greater is it. So we have our domain and our range noted in our fancy brackets, the way that we've said we wanted to before. But the other way that we can write it is that we know that the domain is going to be all real numbers. So that's all real numbers. And we can just use this nice fancy R to signify real numbers. And our range, again, is going to be, or I should probably use a semicolon there, is it's going to be that y is any number greater than 2 all the way to infinity. So y is any number in between 2 and infinity. But it also includes 2. So it's any number greater than or equal to 2 or less than infinity. So again, for our domain and range of a graph, it's all about what values aren't included. And we saw here that all of the values for the domain, all of our x values were in fact included, but all of our y values, or the parts of our range, only went from the value y equals 2 and above. Thanks, guys. Good luck. Make sure that you answer the questions correctly in the prompt down below, and do your best on the rest of the guided notes quiz thing that we're doing right now.